And so that's a very dangerous situation for full-time faculty. A model that the colleges seem to be moving towards is one in which each department has a handful, and sometimes like one or two full-time faculty who just churn out the content, and then you have an army of flexible part-time staff that develop these courses. And mostly courses in a can, in the sense that it's sort of all the materials online, it's all on the learning management system, and it's like a plug and play. Just whoever is able to teach that course will teach it. If we have no academic freedom, we have no ability to assert ownership over what it is that we do as faculty. And this is a very dangerous place to be in. Another way in which this plays out, the lack of academic freedom, is that because the college says they own what we create, they can then sell that material to whoever they want. And so what we're seeing an increase of, and literally almost every college is in this game to a certain extent, is curriculum licensing. So a college will basically take, and I'll use Mohawk as an example. Mohawk has a licensing agreement with a private subsidiary college called the Purez College. And a lot of Ontario community colleges are doing this, but normally they've been like, they'll have a licensing agreement with a college in Singapore, or in Lahore or something like that. Like somewhere, where you're like, okay, kind of sucks that they're selling our curriculum without giving us any credit whatsoever. But at least there's not direct competition for our jobs, right? Well, Mohawk has opened up this campus that is about 40 minutes down the road from Mohawk's main campus in Hamilton on the mountain there. So, and what gets taught at this campus? Well, business courses that are actually taught at Mohawk's main campus too. Who teaches at this private college? None of our members. There are no OPSEU members. There are no Ontario College professors that teach at this private campus. So they've opened up a private campus using all of our curriculum taught by non-members in direct competition with our members, and they can do this all day long right now, the way our collective agreement is set up. And now, not to say this isn't being grieved. This is also happening at Cambrian College. They have the Hanson campus in Brampton. There are, like I said, there are a number of other colleges doing this, and there's a grievance that's being filed. But it's hard to know what we can push back on. And again, if we had any sort of academic freedom in our collective agreement, we could, as faculty members, say, you know what, I'm not licensing that third-party curriculum relationship. That's not what I signed on for. I signed on to deliver curriculum to a publicly funded Ontario Community College. That's what I'm going to do. And we'd have the ability to push back on this.
May I ask?
Yeah.
I'm not following the rationale because they're ultimately cannibalizing their own program, totally ignoring sort of the ethics and whatnot around the faculty themselves. But what about the reality of the fact that they're in direct competition with themselves, which means they won't get the dollars for the seats that are registered?
It's an interesting question. They're actually not in competition with themselves, because at the end of the day, the colleges are making money. The college is making money both ways.
Okay.
Something I missed is that the Purez campus is almost 100% international students. Yeah. And so, I mean, is that campus serviced anywhere vaguely close to the main campus at Mohawk? Not a bit, right? And so there's an ethical issue too, I think, about you're bringing students in. We all know what international students pay. It's an incredible amount of tuition, and they're coming to an institution. Maybe they've been lured in by the wonderful web photos of the real Mohawk campus with the new student center and all the sort of stuff like that. So I think there's some ethical issues there in terms of the quality of education, the integrity of that whole process, and yet it's happening. It's happening all over the place. So yeah, academic freedom is a pretty important issue. It plays out also in very immediate ways as faculty members. Management might say, well, we got to look at the evaluation factors in that course you're teaching. We're not quite sure we can afford this level of evaluation. We have to bump it down a little bit. Can you do some multiple choice tests? Can you do some in-process testing, which is the big thing they're pushing for, even if there's no rationale behind it? That's an academic freedom issue. Unfortunately, right now as faculty, we can't really say a lot about that. Managers overturning grades, managers enforcing textbooks on faculty, sometimes literally over faculty wishes. Increasingly, you have corporate relationships between the college and publishers. So you get courses in a can, pre-designed, online courses, pre-designed e-textbooks and whatnot, and management just sort of says, well, here, you teach this. And so that's what faculty, that's what our role's been relegated to, right? Not making academic decisions, not being able to respond to the needs of our students. Instead, here's this Pearson has this great product, and you just stand in front of the class and say the words we tell you to say, right? And so this is the other aspect of academic freedom that really affects I think what a lot of teachers are most passionate about, which is their time in the classroom, which is their ability to connect with students, which is their ability to use their knowledge, skills, and expertise to create quality programs and to sort of share that with students. That is really under attack as well. So academic freedom is a big issue. It's not just intangible. It's not just the freedom to study weird stuff, And I think in popular culture, there's this idea that that's all it is. It is about job security, and it's also about the control over what we do in the workplace. One more point I'll say about academic freedom that I think is really, really important is colleges, to a certain extent, Terry was talking about the whole relationship with Laurentian, right? Well, we know all the community colleges are chasing after university relationships. It's a very sort of sexy thing for the colleges to be doing. They want that, and yet they paradoxically turn to our faculty and say, yeah, but you guys can't have the academic freedom. You guys can't have the same professional standing that your peers in the university do. Even though we're teaching in degree programs, we're clearly working with universities, right? So this is a contradiction, and I think we can really catch them on this. It makes no sense that they could then argue that Ontario college faculty don't need the same academic freedom protection. The very last thing I want to say is academic freedom, also a really important aspect of it, is the ability to criticize the institution that you work for if you are a professor. And this is incredibly important. And again, I think a lot of folks sometimes don't understand how this could change their experience within their own department. Because what happens right now as professors is usually, if you're under a good associate dean or a good dean, someone who actually listens to faculty, you can have a pretty good experience still in the college system today. But if you're under a bad associate dean or dean, you could be sort of living a little nightmare. And if this person's a tyrant, you can't say anything about it. Even if there's some really, there's some unethical stuff going on, or they're making horrible decisions, they're deliberately ignoring student concerns or whatnot. But if you were protected by academic freedom, you can speak out and say, you know what, I'm worried about the quality of the nursing program that I teach in. I'm worried about the quality of the aviation program that I teach in. Right now, you do that, you get fired, right? It happens, and it has happened across the system. But think if you had the ability to do that. Do you think your managers would want to deal with you within the institution on a one-to-one basis, or would they want to deal with you publicly? I think we'd see a radical shift in how the relationship plays out on a day-to-day basis in our programs, in our classrooms, when it comes to setting up all sorts of academic issues. You talk about the consultation process that the VPA is doing right now around the academic plan. And I think it's great that you folks are engaging in it. You've got to do that kind of work. But man, oh man, if we had academic freedom as faculty members, all of a sudden those consultations would become very, very real. They would have to listen. Again, otherwise faculty could go and we would have other channels, right, to be critical of our institution.